Gerald Ford, VP to Nixon. He became president after Nixon resigned. His immediate concerns were the pardoning of Nixon, which proved very controversial. He inherited a high inflation economy from Nixon, and also the Spring Offensive in Vietnam. The North is attacking the South again. And one of his first acts is the pardoning of Nixon. It's either through empathy or possible blackmail. He pardons Nixon of all of his crimes. It really sets him off on the wrong foot with the public. He also pardons draft evaders. It is conditional, but again, it's unpopular and feeds into the idea that he is showing weakness. So the Spring Offensive, as I mentioned earlier, it's the North attacking the South again after America kind of shows it probably won't support the South with supplies and aid. The fall of Saigon is a result. South Vietnam is dissolved soon after due to the lack of American aid. The Helsinki Accords. It's unofficial and unbinding, but it is a good step in the direction of détente and shows the greater cooperation between East and West during this period. The Helsinki Accords are about respecting sovereignty and cooperation. So really short, but not much went on during Ford's presidency. His successors could be seen as the Helsinki Accords, the growing détente between the two countries. But his failures, he had a lot of them. There was legislation deadlock between him and Congress because he used a lot of vetoes to strike down a lot of legislation. The economy he inherited, he did manage to reduce the inflation, but it ended up causing a recession, causing lots of unemployment. Vietnam, the South finally fell after 20 years of fighting, proving all that bloodshed for nothing. And his amnesty for draft evaders and for Nixon was unpopular, and a lot thought it showed weakness. Jimmy Carter becomes president at a time when public trust in the presidency is at an all-time low, and the presidency seemed really out of touch with regular people. His economic reforms that he hoped could get America out of this constant recession was for more government programs, for new aid, and he focused on America's over-reliance on foreign oil and wanted to invest in new alternative forms of energy. But Congress blocked the legislation. Even though his own party controlled the Congress, it was still considered too radical. The Camp David Accord. Carter brings together Israel and Egypt to make a peace treaty after about 30 years of war. SALT II, similar to the original, it was a further sign of the growing peace between the two, and it wasn't officially adopted, but it was respected by both. But even though Carter had foreign policy successes, he is quite well known for the Iranian hostage crisis, where US diplomats were held by revolutionary Iran, and it lasted for over a year. There was a failed military operation to take the hostages, and it was seen as a great embarrassment. Carter tried to engage in diplomacy, but that was seen as weak, and it really wasn't effective. It really did hit Carter's image. The Soviets invading a country where the army isn't particularly suited to fight, and the local guerrilla movements are able to combat the USSR. It's in response to growing insurgents against the communist government. The US condemned the action. That's why they never ratified SALT, and they would go on to support the insurgent groups. So overall, with Carter, he did have some good diplomatic successes, like at Camp David, and he returned the sovereignty of the Panama Canal to Panama. With China, he re-established full diplomatic ties. So with SALT II, it further limited nuclear expansion and was a strong sign of the détente. However, the Iranian hostage crisis really did tarnish America's reputation and his unfulfilled domestic agenda. And whilst his pledges were popular to the public, they remained unfulfilled, and he really gained an image of being indecisive. So now to finish, we have the election year of 1980. Ronald Reagan, the former governor of California, ran as an avid anti-communist. He played upon the popular sentiment that America had become weak. With economic recessions, the slogan, "Are you better off than 4 years ago?" Diplomatic embarrassments like the Iranian hostage crisis and military underfunding were all key points of his campaign. He wanted to spend more on the military to defeat communism. He campaigned with the slogan, "Let's make America great again." Thanks for listening, and good luck.